The world was shocked when reports emerged that Diane had passed away in her Los Angeles home. News outlets were quick to publish the official statement, complications from pneumonia. But within hours, questions began to ripple through both the medical community and those who had known her personally. Something about the explanation didn't sit right. Diane had been strong, healthy, and vibrant only days earlier. To those who loved her, this didn't feel like a natural ending. It felt like the beginning of a mystery. At Cedars-Sinai, the lights in the forensic pathology wing glowed long past midnight. Dr. Alan Royce, a senior pathologist with 3 decades of experience, began his post-mortem examination. On record, it was supposed to be routine, another unfortunate case of respiratory failure. Yet, as the first incision was made, Royce noticed something he'd never seen in his career. The skin around the left shoulder shimmered faintly, almost metallic, under the lab's ultraviolet light. He paused, thinking it was a reflection from a nearby instrument, but when the light shifted, the glow remained. He noted it quietly, his gloved hand hovering over the scalpel. As the hours passed, the anomalies multiplied. Diane's body temperature wasn't dropping at the expected rate. The tissue density, especially around the upper torso, was unusually firm, as if the skin had been chemically preserved while she was still alive. Internal organs revealed no sign of severe infection. The lungs were irritated, yes, but not filled with the fluid typical of fatal pneumonia. The blood samples appeared denser, with a faint iridescence beneath the microscope. Royce called in 2 technicians for verification. Both confirmed what he saw. By morning, a preliminary report was drafted and encrypted onto the hospital's secure server. Within hours, that file would vanish without a trace. Just after 9 a.m., the pathology department's network experienced what the IT logs later described as a catastrophic data blackout. For precisely 27 minutes, the system went offline. When it came back, Diane's report was missing. Every lab file, image, and autopsy photo linked to her case had been erased. The server backup had also been manually deleted. Royce demanded an inquiry, but the hospital administration labeled it a technical malfunction. Days later, the lead technician who had assisted during the procedure resigned. Another staff member, responsible for data storage, was transferred to a different facility without explanation. When Dr. Royce tried to recover the physical tissue samples for reanalysis, he was told they had been sealed under administrative review. The phrase didn't exist in hospital protocol. And then came the most chilling detail. Every person who had been present in the autopsy room that night was required to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Over the next few weeks, whispers began circulating through Los Angeles's medical circles. What had really happened to Diane? Why had the report disappeared? 3 leading theories emerged, each more bizarre than the last. Some experts suggested that Diane's immune system had turned violently against her in a rare autoimmune storm. Years of phototherapy and medication for chronic skin conditions might have triggered a sudden, catastrophic reaction. The immune system, confused by chemical residues and stress hormones, may have attacked tissue in vital organs, causing rapid systemic failure. This could explain the strange stiffness and the abnormal coloration in her skin. But even this theory couldn't account for the light-reactive tissue and the missing data. Others believed the cause might be linked to the years she spent undergoing intense ultraviolet treatments for recurring skin issues. It's well documented that certain proteins in human skin can mutate under prolonged light exposure, altering cellular behavior in unpredictable ways. The glowing tissue described by Royce suggested that something at the molecular level had changed. Perhaps her skin cells had begun producing bioluminescent compounds. Was it an experimental treatment gone wrong, or something no one could yet explain? The final theory involved a rare metabolic reaction to a medication cocktail. Diane's medical history indicated long-term use of stabilizers and energy supplements. When combined, certain drugs can alter enzyme behavior, changing the body's chemical balance and temperature regulation. This could cause delayed cooling after death, and cellular oxidation that might appear as faint luminescence. But this still didn't explain the missing files or the secrecy. As weeks turned into months, every attempt to reopen the investigation hit a wall. When journalists inquired, Cedars-Sinai's press office issued a one-line statement. "We mourn the loss of a cherished individual and respect the privacy of her family." No mention of the missing report. No mention of the autopsy anomalies. Behind closed doors, however, several staff members began to talk, quietly off record. They described being told to avoid speculation, to delete personal notes, and to never discuss the autopsy again. A few admitted that they had seen the same strange luminescence with their own eyes, but were too frightened to come forward. One in turn confided to a colleague that he had seen the original report before it vanished. According to him, it contained a line from Royce that read simply, "Subject exhibits tissue activity inconsistent with human postmortem decay timeline." The intern's statement was never verified, but within days of making it, he too left the hospital. For those who knew Diane personally, these developments only deepened the pain. She had always been a private person, but not secretive. Her life was filled with light, both literally and metaphorically. For years, she had battled chronic skin sensitivity and sought unconventional therapies. Friends remembered her fascination with light therapy and meditation. She believed light could heal, one close friend told a reporter. She said it gave her energy. Born in Tennessee and raised in a small, tight-knit family, Diane moved to Los Angeles in her early 20s. Her career in entertainment exposed her to relentless scrutiny. Between public appearances and demanding schedules, she often spoke about the physical toll of constant stress. In one interview years before her death, she mentioned undergoing light treatment for fatigue. Few thought much of it at the time. She was also open about her struggles with bulimia in her youth, a condition that had left lasting metabolic effects. Combined with years of medication and unconventional therapies, her body had been through decades of biochemical fluctuation. Some doctors speculated that this combination, light exposure, supplements, and stress, could have produced the strange tissue phenomena Royce observed. But speculation was all it was. Public records later showed another peculiar detail. The official death certificate listed her time of death at 7:41 p.m., but paramedic reports from the scene placed her pulse at weak, but present as late as 8:06. That 35-minute discrepancy has never been explained. Moreover, when the coroner's office transferred her remains, there was no chain of custody log attached, a violation of standard procedure. Someone had signed it manually in handwriting that was never verified. Royce, increasingly uneasy, began keeping a private notebook. In it, he recorded everything he could remember: the sequence of findings, the strange odor from the blood sample, and the luminous quality of her skin. "It's as if her body was preserving itself," he wrote. "Every instinct tells me we are missing something elemental." Within a month, Royce too resigned. When a journalist tracked him down months later, he refused to comment. Some truths, he said quietly, should never be forced into the light. Years later, a rumor emerged that a small, vial labeled DL dermal fragment had been stored in a private medical research facility in Nevada. The facility declined all inquiries, but anonymous insiders claimed the fragment was sealed under restricted biohazard protocol. No evidence ever surfaced to prove this, yet it reignited public fascination. Could the mysterious tissue still exist? If so, why keep it secret? Another whisper pointed toward a government-funded study involving bioluminescent cell adaptation, a project focusing on genetic responses to artificial light exposure. Some online theorists connected this to Diane's years of phototherapy. Others dismissed it as coincidence, noting how such rumors tend to grow around celebrity tragedies. Still, the overlap between light-based medical treatments and the alleged glowing tissue remained impossible to ignore. When the story broke publicly years later through leaked fragments of Royce's notes, the media exploded with theories. Documentaries, podcasts, and social media threads all chased the same question. Was Diane's death a natural failure of the body or something stranger? Mainstream outlets reported cautiously, citing unverified claims and missing documentation. Online investigators dug deeper, unearthing old medical patents and archived interviews that hinted at experimental treatments. For fans, the scientific debate mattered less than the haunting beauty of the mystery itself. They saw in Diane's story a kind of tragic poetry, a woman devoted to light who perhaps became part of it in the end. According to friends, Diane's final week had been calm. She attended a small dinner, walked her garden, and made plans for a short vacation. Her assistant later said that she had complained of mild fatigue, but refused to cancel her commitments. On the morning of her death, she spoke with her brother by phone and sounded cheerful. By evening, everything changed. Found unresponsive in her bedroom, she was declared dead an hour later. Neighbors recall seeing a soft, strange light through her window that night, something bluish, pulsing faintly. It might have been nothing more than an electronic reflection, but in retrospect, that glow became part of the myth. Today, Diane's official cause of death remains complications from pneumonia. Yet the missing data, sealed samples, and resignations continue to feed speculation. Forensic analysts who've reviewed fragments of the remaining documents agree that the anomalies described are rare, but not impossible. Some still hold out hope that one day, Cedars-Sinai will unseal the files and release the truth. Others believe that the truth may already be gone, deleted like the report itself, buried beneath bureaucracy and fear. Whatever the explanation, Diane's story has transcended medical science and entered the realm of legend. She remains a figure of fascination, a symbol of how beauty, brilliance, and mystery can intertwine in life and in death. Those who knew her remember her warmth, her laughter, and her enduring belief in light. Perhaps, in some poetic sense, she became what she always sought, illumination that never fades. In the end, every question leads back to that faint silver shimmer, the mark that no one could explain. Was it the residue of a treatment gone wrong, or something extraordinary that science has yet to understand? No one can say for sure. What remains is an unsettling truth whispered through corridors and memory alike. Not every mystery can be buried, and not every light goes out when the body does. Public records later showed another peculiar detail. The official death certificate listed her time of death at 7:41 p.m., but paramedic reports from the scene placed her pulse at weak but present as late as 8:06. That 35-minute discrepancy has never been explained. Moreover, when the coroner's office transferred her remains, there was no chain of custody log attached, a violation of standard procedure. Someone had signed it manually in handwriting that was never verified. Royce, increasingly uneasy, began keeping a private notebook. In it, he recorded everything he could remember, the sequence of findings, the strange odor from a blood sample, and the luminous quality of her skin. It's as if her body was preserving itself, he wrote. Every instinct tells me we are missing something elemental. Within a month, Royce too resigned. When a journalist tracked him down months later, he refused to comment.